You are listening to Mollie on a Trip, music around Paris on Paris Underground Radio.
Salut! You have reached Mollie on a Trip, music around Paris. My name is Mollie, and I'm a former music executive, and I moved to Paris in 2022 for an adult gap year, kind of a post-COVID YOLO vibe. In the podcast, I'll be talking to musicians, songwriters, producers, and executives, both traveling and natives, about what they like to do here. I was interested in where they like to play shows, where they hang out, what kind of art they like to check out, where their favorite neighborhoods are, and my personal favorite is finding out where they like to eat and drink. Hope you enjoy. I got a chance to talk to Eugenie. Eugenie? There's many ways to say that, probably better ways. She is a French artist. I got obsessed with her music videos. She has got the coolest aesthetic, kind of intimidating, actually. She's like so cool looking. But I got a chance to sit down and talk with her. She's so kind. She's really funny, really interesting. And she loves nature and she loves to run. And we talked a lot about being outside in Paris. Also a lot about live concerts, her performing them, her going to see them, what she's learned watching them, and how she feels on stage. So it was a really interesting conversation. So enjoy, Eugenie. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? Will you tell me how to pronounce your name properly? I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, of course. You can say Eugenie, but in French we say Eugenie.
Eugenie.
Yeah, Eugenie.
Eugenie.
Yeah, you got it.
It's so nice to meet you. I'm really excited to chat with you today. I'm like a fan of your music. I'm a fan of your video. Like your aesthetics are so cool. I'm so excited for the world.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really so fun. I mean, before we even talk about anything, like in terms of your aesthetic, like is that ideas that you have that you bring to your team and to creative people and you're like, I want these braids, I want these colors, I want this makeup, or do people bring you ideas and then you're like, yes, this is me?
Well, I always bring ideas first, but I always let people give me other ideas. So yeah, we can collaborate actually, because I work with a lot of teams, obviously. So it's always a collaboration, but I always bring the first idea and the concept of what I want to do, and also the meaning of my idea, which is the most important thing actually.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Well, we'll get into that. But just as a start, like you're from France, I'd love to hear where you're from and how you started getting into music.
I'm from, near Paris. I'm not from Paris exactly, but it's been, 8 years I've been in Paris. I love it. I don't have English parents, so my English is only because I love English. I taught myself to be a good listener through music, so this is why I'm also, writing in English. But yeah, I think that's it actually.
So I always think this is really interesting because I think lyrics are obviously so important. I mean, for me, they're so important. Like I'm a very much a lyric person. And I think it's really interesting to write in a language that's not your first language. And on top of that, particularly as an admirer of the French language, but also the phrasing, the French language, even in translation, is so gorgeous. So when you're writing lyrics in English, like how do you do that? Do you translate it? Do you have English songwriters that can be like, okay, so this is a concept and you can be like, okay, I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Like, how does the translation work for you?
Well, actually, I write in English like I write in French because I've been learning English since a young age. So I dream in English. I have friends who I talk to in English. It's natural, actually, even more natural than writing in French, actually, because I don't listen to a lot of French music. So when I write, it's like, top liners, as we'd like to say, the people who do the melodies and the lyrics. We do this gibberish thing over an instrumental, to get the melody. and my gibberish sounds English. It never sounds French. Like words coming out really look like English words. So it means that when I project myself into that melody, I project English words first.
Wow.
It was actually the other way around. Like, how am I gonna write in French? Because my words are so tied to English things that I listen to. So, yeah, it was actually more difficult to begin writing in French. I started that 10 years ago.
Interesting.
And English, I started it at 13. So it's, yeah. And I'm 28.
So who are your musical influences? You said you don't have a ton of like French. Like, who are your inspirations musically?
Well, I've been inspired by pop music, international pop music. When I was young, I was watching Disney Channel. So, of course, I'm a big Hannah Montana fan. And all of these, camp rock, High School Musical. Like, this was my thing when I was young. So, obviously, pop music is part of my DNA. But as I grew up, I listened to more alternative styles. Like pop rock, or I was a fan of Red Hot Chili Peppers, like Moby, for more electronic sounds. But yeah, Travis, which is I think they are English. I don't remember.
Yeah,
So as part of my DNA, pop music is the what structures my songs, and everything like alternative styles revolves around it, so it influences this pop structure.
that's awesome. And I know you've been writing in the UK a little bit with Rich Cooper, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah, he's amazing.
He's
We
amazing.
laughed a lot. We laughed a lot. I've been vlogging during that session, so if you want to have a look on what we've done, you can actually see that in my first vlog on my YouTube channel. But yeah, it was a really great time. I can't wait to do more music with him. I know he's also into that, so maybe when I'll come back to London soon.
Curious about that, about co-writing. Like, have you co-written also in France and obviously in the UK? Like, do you like the experience? Is it fun? Co-writing is I think it's a really interesting thing because you can have people that help bring out your story even more, but some people can find it uncomfortable. What are your feelings about co-writing, and what's it been like in different countries?
Well, co-writing has been something I've been doing for 2 or 3 years, actually. I don't consider co-writing a hard thing. Like being vulnerable is not hard for me because I've been doing that all my life through music and by being on stage. What is difficult is to feel like it's for you and not to make the other person good with your idea, because you're actually here for most of the time I'm here for my music, my universe. So yeah, I tend to make space for my ideas and try to let someone in to give me another view on what I want to write about. And when I'm stuck, it's always a pleasure to have someone giving me new things to go with.
Absolutely. Perspective, and you're totally right, helping when you're stuck, giving a push or a nudge or an idea or sort of creating a different energy to help move space around. That makes a ton of sense.
It has been mostly the same thing in Germany, in Berlin, in London, and in Paris, because I've been doing sessions in these three cities. And it's always like, it's a great talk before we do anything. We always talk a lot. We talk about life, we talk about where we are at the moment. It's like a therapy, actually. At the end of the session, you feel like you really know the people you're with. And this is what I like about these things. It feels like it's a deep 4 hours with someone you don't even know. So, yeah, that's amazing, actually. I love that.
I can't tell if that's like it's either the least expensive therapy or the most expensive therapy, depending. Because if it's a hit record and they're
No,
like,
it's the least expensive.
hey, if it's a big hit, they're going to make a lot of money. So,
Yeah, see?
I mean, I'm sure the Adele co-writers feel like that therapy was really worth the time. But I think also though, I love a lot of co-writers and just a lot of people that get attracted to the music industry that are in it for this reason because they want to talk, they want to be vulnerable, they want to help, you know what I mean? Like they're in it for the right reasons. Obviously there is this potential of a financial gain in the end, but I mean truly there's a lot of people that are in this for the love of the game because it takes a lot of time and effort to get into it.
It does. And it can be exhausting sometimes. But I always come back to the connections I make in the little moments, which, are worth everything else. Like being on stage and share a 1 hour moment with an audience is amazing. Share 4 hours with someone you don't even know before that is amazing too, because you learn a lot from people. And I feel like if you take it from that perspective, you're always going to be looking at it like it's worth it.
That's actually great. That leads me to my next question. I wanted to know about live music. So sounds like you love to perform live and have in the past. Where have you played in Paris and where have you really liked? Has there been any special shows that you've really enjoyed playing?
So my first ever show that I've played was at Le Café de la Danse, which is not far from where I'm living now. I'm living in the 12th arrondissement. And I think it's the 11th. So it's right next to it. It was like my first big concert. So many people came, like my family, my friends, but also people from the industry. So yeah, it was a bit stressing. Stressing, did you
Right.
say that?
Stressful.
Stressful. Yeah, my English is not perfect, by the way, but it's enough to make a song.
It's great. And thank you. Sorry, my French is so crap. But next time we talk, I
Oh
will.
no, don't worry, I don't mind. So yeah, all these people who you don't want to disappoint, were there, and I was really sick. I was ill.
No.
I was under, medication to go through that moment, but it was amazing because people were singing my songs with me, and yeah, it was a really, I don't know, surreal experience. So yeah, that was amazing. And this place is really cool if you want to see a gig because it's not too big, it's not too small. The sound is great. Well, go there if you want to see a show, a gig. Also, I've been a lot to Le Pop-Up du Label, which is also next to my apartment. Like everything is near
Ugh,
my place, actually.
I love your area.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love it. And this is a small gig. I did a release party there. My first release party was there, and people are nice. It's small, but it's a bit grungy, but we like it. And yeah, you're very close from the audience. I like it, and yeah, it's good because you can. Yeah, the place is beautiful. You can also eat and drink. Well, it's a cool place. And that day, there were like so many people waiting at 5, and the gig was at like 8. So
What?
I was like, what are you doing here? Like, go home and come back. They were so nice. Like, it was near my birthday, so everyone bring gifts, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I love the fans. They're crazy, but I love them. They gave me like an entire bag of stupid things I was asking for, but it was like, it was a joke, but they did it anyway. So yeah, this was a really cool evening.
What were the gifts?
Well, a plant. They gave me a plant. Lots of books, but like bizarre books, like about Egypt and but
Cool.
expensive book actually. These big heavy books. Like I couldn't even take myself home because it was too heavy. I had headphones, which was like, what? How do you say peluche? I don't even know how you say peluche, but like a teddy bear.
Cute.
Yeah, cute things like that. And so yeah, I felt really blessed. So this is something I really remember.
If you enjoyed this podcast, you should check out our sister podcast on the network called Storytime in Paris, where authors of books inspired by Paris answer questions and read from their books. You can enjoy it on all the podcasting platforms. We'll be right back with Mollie on a Trip, music around Paris, after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Mollie on a Trip, music around Paris. I mean, I'd love to hear also, like, where do you like to go see music? For someone looking for cool music in town, like what's the place you and your friends go to?
You should definitely go to La Maroquinerie. I really love that place. It's chill, and the how do you say, the place is like a round place, so it's cool. I always like to go see gigs there because I don't know, the vibe is always cool. I don't know how, I don't know why. The music sounds great there, and it's a warm venue. Actually, it's a warm venue. There's that, and I don't remember in which arrondissement it is, so I'm sorry.
I think it's Belleville. I went and saw Big Pig there last month. She's the British artist. She's amazing. And it was so fun. I totally agree with you. I think it's one of the coolest venues. And I think it's Belleville.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's in that area.
It's really fun. I really like that place.
Yeah, it is. So there's that. And a bigger venue must be, well, La Cigale, which is, near Pigalle, Anvers, which is a known one. My first ever show in Paris was like back in 2012, I think. I think it was even before never mind. And it was Ed Sheeran before he got big, like.
No way. That's cool.
So I think it was even before. And it was there. It was at La Cigale. I think it was there.
Was it amazing?
Oh, yeah. I was blown away because, like, he was just alone with his guitar and his loop station. And it was everything. Like, he didn't need anyone else than that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, he knows how to put on a show.
that's super inspiring.
Yeah, he's a great musician.
Isn't it wild that he can do that in like arenas and stadiums and for the Queen when she, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's just so good. It just works. It's amazing.
Yeah, it works. It's amazing. And we have our Ed Sheeran in France. He's called Vianney. And he also has like just his guitar and his loop station. And it was of the most amazing shows I've seen at Bercy, which is the biggest stage in Paris. Accor Hotel Arena. Well, it has many names,
Yes.
depending on the sponsors.
Right. Like, who owns it right now?
Yeah. So that was amazing. Like it was a moment of, do I need everything I'm thinking about on stage? This is just a guy with his guitar and it does everything. We cry, we laugh, we jump, like we sang. It was everything. Okay, and the most amazing show I've been to recently was also there. It was Rosalia. I was like, this is insane. Like the girl she's a star. She dances, she sings, the interpretation is always on point. She has everything, and how do you say it? Like the video show,
Like the production, the visuals and that. Yeah.
because it was all live. Like the video was live, and the choreography was around it too. So it was really like incredible. Yeah, I was with my best friend who is a DOP. She was analyzing it, and they did something really, really difficult and technical there. So bravo, bravo. It's amazing. So yeah, I think I've done like all the the small to medium to large gigs.
It's smart of you to go and almost study. Like you're going to have fun, obviously, but you're also thinking about like when you're making a decision about production, about dancing, about not having production, about song choices, song order, conversation with the crowd, like the people that do that really well, you can tell that it's intentional and that it's like writing. It's like really thinking about like, does this word need to be here? Does this add? Does this make this more exciting? And I think that in some ways, every artist should go and do the homework and go to the smallest venue and go to the biggest venue and go to exciting shows and maybe go to boring shows sometimes to recognize like what's not working. Why is the crowd all going to get beer? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
what works and what resonates. And I think we're in an interesting time right now too, because I feel for you as artists because there is this expectation that you're going to know how to do everything all the time immediately as people want it, because there's not a lot of, you're not just getting a ton of time to go and tour forever and figure it out. It's like you kind of like the cake has to be baked.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is why you said it. It's so important to see things before you even do it yourself. That way you have a ton of ideas for your show, but also, yeah, as you said, you can feel what works and what doesn't, but also what works for you and what doesn't work for you and your music. It was a problematic for me because I couldn't do, big venues, obviously, but my music sounded, very produced, like big productions. And I was alone on stage with big productions behind it without any musicians first. So my problematic was, how am I gonna show up with this, soundtrack and just me and my mic? Like, this is weird. It doesn't make sense in a way in a small venue. So we had the idea with one of my producer of having a Walkman on stage, like a Discman.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, so this is me actually when I was young, very young, with my Walkman in my room, pretending I'm a big star on stage. This is the same thing. So I think it makes sense and it actually works. We put a bit of work into some productions for live to calm down a bit some things.
Like big pop track stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, just to, a bit more minimalist for, a solo moment. But it was still so close to the studio work. It was, just about that element. And it's crazy because it makes sense for me to be solo with that. But it also makes sense for how I came to music and how I want to present myself on stage. It's a power move, actually, to be alone on stage, having all the work to do yourself. And I've been solo for so long, like 7 years. And it's only been like few months I'm with musicians, but I'm still doing some solo shows. And I always feel like it's a great moment for you to show up and show I'm strong enough to do this alone. Like, this is always a challenge, but I love that. I love that. And people are really receptive to that. Like, oh, the girl is alone on stage. Okay, so let's, cheer her up. You can feel that energy from people.
Let's bring her a teddy bear. Actually, I think that's really observant of you and your team to say, okay, like someone can go and watch a girl sing to a big pop track and think, where is the work here? And then you being like, actually, we're going to lean into this and we're going to make this really honest and bring it to this memory of like what it was like and why I'm even here in the first place, because I just loved music. And then you're sort of inviting them to share that with you.
Exactly.
So what's the summer like? What's the fall like in terms of, is there any more live shows coming in 2023 for you? New music coming out? What should I be looking out for?
I have like a full 2 or 3 months of not nothing. It's just that I'm in the studio and I'm working on visuals for my next project. So I wanted to have, a break to do that. And then I'll come back. I'll come back on stage and I'll give people some shows to attend to. But right now, I can't really do that.
And then in terms of music coming, is there a scheduled release for any singles this summer, EPs, albums?
Well, in September or October, around fall, I'm projecting on giving out a song. So yeah,
Great.
but it's work in progress right now. So yeah.
That's exciting though. Do you know what the song is? Is it already written?
Yeah, actually, I've played it on stage. The last time I played it was in Brussels. I was opening for Lolo's Way.
Cool.
And it was an amazing show. Yeah, it was amazing. The people were so warm and they went crazy on that song. And I was like, okay, I'm good. I think I have my next single. So yeah, it probably will be that song. And what is crazy is that, you may have noticed that artists, when they write a song, sometimes it takes like 2 or 3 or 5 years to make it public. But right now, this song is really, really recent, and I feel so connected to what I've said in that song because it was in a moment which is not far from the present moment, and I played it like it was, something that just came out of me. So yeah, it was spontaneous, and I really like that it's like that, and this is why it's so good to be independent.
Yeah, you can just do it whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so exciting. And I think you're really fortunate to have been able to play it live first. I think it's such a good test to see when people start just responding in the crowd and reacting. And we don't get the opportunity to do that often, especially, I'm coming from the major label world. And, we felt that we had to control a lot of stuff. And so that would have been something exciting, but just potentially difficult to pull off. And you got that opportunity to do it. And you got to see a reaction already. Just so, 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 so exciting.
Oh, yeah. It was really exciting. And you can see that. Oh, sorry. I'm promoting my vlog right now, but I love vlogging. Like it's my new thing. Well, it's not that new. I've been doing that a bit in the past years, but right now I gave myself that challenge to do one vlog per month during 1 year.
Oh, wow.
And you can see how people got excited on that song in the episode I just released. It's amazing. And the immediate response to that was after the show, people came to me to to tell me I was amazing. They wanted autographs, they wanted pictures. It was not even my show, so I felt like I did the job right there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What's the name of the song?
The song is called Stop.
Stop. Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear it. If you're enjoying this episode of Music Around Paris, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, Navigating the French, where Emily Monaco and experts teach us about the French through the study of the language. Mollie on a Trip, Music Around Paris will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Mollie on a Trip, Music Around Paris. I have a last question for you, which is sort of a more broad question. As someone who is French and lives in Paris, spends a lot of time in Paris, there's definitely listeners on here that are travelers that come through Paris but aren't from here. I was wondering if you had any sort of like recommendations for them.
So I still feel like a tourist in my own city, to be honest. But as I said, it's been like 8 years or 7 years I'm living in the 12th arrondissement. And what I love about it is that, it's a family arrondissement. Like, yeah, it's calm, but you also have so many shops, restaurants. But the main thing about it is La Coulée Verte, because I'm a runner, I'm a jogger. And yeah, I like to run on that, on that lane. It's, well, obviously you're still in the air, the pollution of Paris, but you're above the road and there are trees. So you kind of feel like you're somewhere else, but you can still see Paris roofs and buildings through that lane, which is amazing. You get a bit of fresh air, and you feel like you're in the clouds of Paris in a way. Sorry, I'm like getting excited about the lane. I love this. So there's that. I would say if you have never been to Paris, the best way to see most of Paris would be walking down Les Quais de Seine. If you go through the middle of Paris, you can see so many things and it's beautiful. You're also not in the traffic. I think I'm not a city girl. I'm always talking about big spaces and having a bit of plants and sea or whatever. But yeah, this could be a good way to visit Paris. I walk a lot when I'm in Paris, and I always take Les Quais de Seine to come back home.
I do the same thing. I actually also just a note on the running thing. I think for anyone that hasn't spent time here, when I was first here before I moved, I actually asked a waiter, I was like, is there a marathon or something? I'm like, there's just so many runners. And the guy just smiled at me and he said, no, Paris is a runner's town. And you really see that people love to run here. And I used to run on the Quai all the time and Luxembourg Gardens. Like there are so many amazing places to run here, and it's a real community of runners. And if you want the hill, you can go run up Montmartre, but not me.
Oh. Yeah, I've been to London a few times and I don't see a lot of runners. Where are you runners?
It's too big anyway, man. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm really excited to hear new music and to watch the vlog and to come see shows. And just pumped and appreciate you coming to talk about music around Paris with me.
Thank you very much, Mollie, for inviting me on your podcast. I really appreciate it too. Sorry, my English is falling apart. But yeah, it was a great time, and maybe see you in London or in Paris.
Thanks for being here today. Hope you enjoyed the chat on Mollie on a Trip, Music Around Paris. Please check out the other great podcasts on the Paris Underground Radio Network. If you have a second, also, please rate us on Apple Podcasts. It does actually help. And if you want to find me, I'm at Mollie on a Trip on Instagram, and I'd love to chat about music and food and wine and everything Paris. And I'm also super happy to hear suggestions for future guests. Thanks.
Mollie on a Trip, Music Around Paris was produced by Jennifer Garrity for the Paris Underground Radio Podcast Network.